Today on Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, we are talking about how clearing clutter supports a well-designed life. Do you have a rat's nest of clutter that you consider your safe space? Have you let go something only to later regret it? Are you forever collecting books and information on organizing and clearing clutter but not getting anything done? Let's continue our month focusing on clearing clutter with Julie Coraccio podcast interviews.
Are you overwhelmed by clutter, looking to organize your life? Do you feel stuck and are ready for a change? Every Tuesday at 1 p.m., join award-winning professional organizer and coach Julie Coraccio on Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out as she supports you in navigating the waters of decluttering your life and getting organized. Julie thinks outside the box and examines clutter in all areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, and more. Ready to live a more joyful and fulfilling life?
This month focuses on interviews that I've done on other podcasts. Sometimes it takes hearing something in a different way or by asking a different question for that aha moment. Have an aha moment from one of the interviews? I'd love to hear it. I had lots of fun on this interview with Jonathan. I love that his mom had a question for me. A Life Well Designed airs on Sundays and is a great mix of people with good ideas to support you in having an amazing life.
Well, hello there. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jonathan Pritchard, and this is a Life Well Designed podcast, the show dedicated to helping you create amazing relationships, business, and life in general. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. I'm glad to have you. And if this is not your first time listening to the show, welcome back. Thanks for your vote of confidence. My guest this week lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and is passionate about supporting people in creating the life they choose, deserve, and desire by learning how to clear clutter. She hosts her own weekly podcast, Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, so make sure you go check that out. And she recently completed a 52-week book and video course, How to Declutter Your Life, designed to support you in clearing physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual clutter. We talk about the difference between knowing and doing, trusting your intuition, the importance of having professional guidance, and why you can't separate yourself from your work. Enjoy!
Hey everyone, my name is Julie Coraccio, and I'm the owner of Reawaken Your Brilliance, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, I am super excited to have you on here. And what brings you here? What are you good at?
What am I good at? Well, several things, but we'll talk about the main thing that I do for my job. What gets me going, what gets my juices flowing and gets me passionate is helping and supporting people clear clutter. And I take kind of a broader view because a lot of times people, when they think of clutter, they think of physical. But there's also mental clutter. There's emotional clutter. There's spiritual clutter. There's energetic clutter. We can talk about clutter in our finances and our relationships and our health. So for me, clutter is stuck, stagnant energy. It's the inability to not be able to make a decision. It's just kind of that yucky feeling, that keeps us stuck instead of moving forward in our life.
Right, that moment of indecision and then just getting paralyzed because there's just lots of stuff in the way.
Yes,
but
being
you know
stuck.
What? I like my little rat's nest of clutter. Why would I ever want to leave this safe space? Because it's exactly this little nest that I've created for myself. It's very comfortable.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up because I have a client that I'm working with who it's a little bit different than a rat's nest. It's more of an extreme clutter in a few houses or a few rooms in the house. But she has started to associate the clutter with a safe space, with being able to relax. And that's not true. When you have chaos going on, it affects you everything's energy. So if you have that little rat's nest, whether or not you're aware of it, that's draining you mentally, I would say. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten to that. It's something I need to do. Why is it sitting there staring at me? So it takes a lot more of our mental and emotional energy and physical energy than you might be thinking that it is. Now, we're not perfect. We're not Martha Stewart. Most of us aren't. And I don't say to people that's a standard that you need to live up to. What I can tell you is when people walk in our house, they're like, oh my gosh, it feels so great to be here. The energy, it feels good. Is my house perfect? Absolutely not. Do I have clutter? Well, I have clutter because I'm going through the annual decluttering of our house. But it's not about being rigid. It's about being having joy and being happy. So don't get so focused on, but again, if it's something that, your finances are in that little nest and you're not paying your bills, then we have to say, okay, this is something that needs to be addressed.
Now, do you need somebody to get to a breaking point where things finally collapse, or can you kind of head them off at the pass and help people realize what kind of impact the clutter is having?
It's really both. Truthfully, it's really an individual journey for some people. Some people call me when they've reached that breaking point. Some people are heading down that path and say, okay, I know something needs to change. I don't know what it is. And then I get a call that way. So truthfully, it really is up to the individual and what's going on in their life.
Gotcha. So my mom, hi mom, if you're listening, asked me to ask you, so what do you do if you have 38 years of organizing information? Like she collects information on organizing, but then never actually does it.
Well, first, she's not alone, so I want to make sure she doesn't beat herself up about that. If she's collected information for 38 years, my first thought is it's not working for her. Or as Dr. Phil would say, how's it working for you? And I don't think it is, because if she's been doing this for almost 40 years, it's not. So what I would say, you clear that. And then is a step that you need to take a course, that you need to hire a coach, that you need to hire a professional organizer. I think there is another step that she needs to take. And if you haven't looked at it in 38 years, then release it. Because that's just collecting dust. And remember, clutter is stagnant energy. And like I talked about your rat's nest earlier, it's draining your mom. Even if she's not fully aware of it, on another level, it is every single day.
Right. Now, I just thought of this. Have you ever gotten rid of something that you later regret getting rid of?
I love that question. For me personally, it's only happened once, and I'll tell you what it was. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I was in this crazy apartment. The people above me were in a rock band and stayed up all night, and I had a day job, and I couldn't think because I wasn't sleeping. And I snuck out of the apartment. I broke the lease. It's the only time I've ever done it. I tried to work with the landlord, and he was, well, it's you versus her. I'm like, yeah. Why would I make up someone being in a rock band? I mean, I called police anyway. But I've changed on this, which is interesting. I love that you asked this question. So there were some journals I threw out. I'm a big believer in journaling, but I have to tell you, the person I've become, the more I work on myself, I want to live in the present moment. So that was part of a past, and that was things where I had I had very little awareness. And those are things in my life that I don't care to revisit. So at the time I regretted it. As time has gone on, not so much. But that's why when you clear clutter, you do it in somewhat of an organized manner and release it. Now, there are things that you might regret, but then what I would talk about is a mistake that we make as humans is we say, okay, this keyboard has so many memories to me, and we put the memories in the keyboard, but the memories are in our head and the memories are in our heart. And we need to remember that it's not in the object. So those journals have gone bye-bye, but I remember those experiences. Those have stayed with me because they shaped who I am. So you really, truly can't lose it if we look at it in kind of a broader, bigger way.
Yeah, that's a great detail. One of my favorite people in the world gave me a great idea going, look, if you have this thing or object that you have a sentimental connection to, take a picture of it, then get rid of it. Like
yeah,
the digital
exactly.
thing can live there. You could be a digital hoarder. Okay, fine. It's not going to take up space in your mind and your desk. But whenever you want to revisit that memory, you still have the trigger there available to you. It just isn't collecting dust anymore.
I had a client that I worked with at the end of January, and it was a family working on clearing their clutter and getting organized. And that's what he did with his trophies, like his trophies and things from junior high, especially these days, you participate and you get a trophy. And I think, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine they have roomfuls of things. And he was able to let them go after that. I was like, well, here's a solution. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
That's great. Now, is this something that you've been called to do, that you were doing something else and then had a breaking point yourself? How did you get going in this?
I love that. So the truth of the matter is my background was in fund development. So raising money for nonprofits, so doing grant writing, fundraising, all that fun stuff. Now, in the meantime, throughout my life, people are like, you're uptight. You're kind of type A. I need help organizing. And so I'm like, okay. And so I had this job as a director of development. It was the last job I had before starting Reawaken Your Brilliance. And I've had kind of an epiphany when I started my business. So it was first called Healing Through Organization. So I was at this awful job. I would drag myself crying to work every Monday. My nickname was Crazy Town. It was just, people would gossip. It was like being in junior high. It was the weirdest experience I had. And I was like, well, this sucks. So I'm going to start my own business. Well, what could I do that I'd be good at and that I'd enjoy? And I looked back on my life and I said, oh, well, I love organizing. And so when I started my business, and my theory was, if it really sucks or I can't make it work, then I'll just get another job again, but why not go for it? And so I first started my business and I named it Healing Through Organization because I saw how organization could help people heal. And how it evolved over the years is I had started a show. So I had Healing Through Organization as a business. And by the way, I just want to bring this up now. I have gratitude for those awful people and that horrible job every single day of my life. Because if it had not been so horrible, I don't know if I would have had the courage to go out on my own and start my own business. So it was a kick in the pants that I needed because I thought I can't live like this because I'm just going insane. So I left and I started Healing Through Organization. And then so I started my business in 2009. And then in 2011, I started an internet TV show called Reawaken Your Brilliance, where I would interview body, mind, and spirit experts. And I kind of laugh as I look back because I think certain experiences are kind of setting us up for the next stage. And I found myself interviewing, and I also think it was the show in some ways was for my own personal development because I'd have to read books and do research and all that and really expand on my awareness. But I would have people and they'd talk about clutter, like some organizers that I really liked came on the show. And then I was working with a client, and this was kind of an epiphany for me. So I came over and I work usually in 3 or 4 hour blocks because if you work anything less than that, it's hard to tell that you've made any progress, especially if there's a lot of clutter.
Yep.
So she said, I just want to talk. I'm like, okay, I'm a good listener. I know that that's something, I mean, when I'm working with people, I'm also coaching them and just in addition to regular coaching, you're supporting them and all that. So we ended up talking for about 3.5 hours. And at one point she said, and she was right. She said, I can tell you're getting a little nervous. And I said, well, I'm here to help you organize. And she's like, well, this is helping me because we're digging deep. We're figuring out what the clutter is really about. So then she said, oh my gosh, this was great. After you left, I organized, come back and we're going to do some more. And so when you're able to clear that clutter, and that was my epiphany, it's not about the organization. The organization comes after the clutter. And I never force anyone to clear their clutter. The fly lady always says you can't organize clutter, but I think in some situations you always can't release the clutter. So do the best you can, do what you can in the moment. But I was like, aha, it's about the clutter. And thinking back on all my interviews, the mental, physical, emotional, energetic, all the things that I'm interested in, I'm like, that when we clear our clutter, we can choose to create the life we desire. And that's what gets me passionate. Because if I help you clear your clutter, you're going to go out and do magnificent things. Yeah,
it definitely frees up a lot of space. And you need space. Like if you don't have space, you can't breathe. Like literally, it just crushes you and then you suffocate. But if you allow space in your life, it's amazing what you can get done and not overschedule your life so that it's down to the millisecond that if the train comes 3 minutes later, then my whole day's wrecked. Life doesn't have those tight tolerances. You need a little more space between.
And I always encourage people when we talk about doing schedules and things like that, allow time for opportunities. I don't like to call them emergencies. My last job was crazy. There was every day there was an emergency. Allow time for opportunities, because maybe you say to me, I had a cancellation, Julie, can you come and do an interview? That's a great opportunity for me. But if I'm, like you said, scheduled so tightly, then and nothing new can come in. You want a new relationship in your life? Look at your current relationships. Are they the healthy, wonderful relationships you want, or are they clutter?
Yeah, and then you're going to get more of the clutter if you look for it.
Yes, exactly.
So what do you think is one of the most important parts of your business?
What are the most important parts of my business? How so? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Intentionally open-ended, so you could take it any
so
direction
I can take
you
anywhere.
wanted.
You're one of those interviewers. Okay.
Yeah, real jerk.
And what was the question again?
It's like, what do you see as the most important part of your business?
I like this. Okay, this is one of the directions I'm going to go in. You cannot separate the personal from the professional. Who I am affects my business. So my business, when you go to my website, you get a really good sense of who I am. So I think that I am my business. I am in there. I am my brand. So I think that that's something that's really essential. I think probably the most essential piece of my business. And one of the things I've learned is if you hire me, it's because you're challenged with clearing clutter or getting organized. I don't know how to do website stuff. I don't know how to do certain financial things. And I need to find support to help me do that, for me to be the best business person I can be. But I also work with a coach every month who kicks my butt and is wonderful. But that allows me to be the best vision and version of me that I can be. So I think that that's something really essential too, that I'm always working on myself. And because of that, and I grow and I learn, I'm able to bring that to my business as well.
Yeah, it always amazes me how people just think that their professional life and their personal life are completely separate. Like I don't bring work home and I leave my personal life at home and never the two shall meet. But you're a person and you can't exist in a silo over here and completely compartmentalize. All you're doing is fracturing your mind and who you are as a person. That's not a way I want to live.
Can I share an almost failure with you?
Please do. Those are the great things, right? Yeah, okay. World traveling, write books, have a successful business. Yeah. Everybody does that. But we love the mess ups, the opportunities for learning, as I like to call them. They make such better stories. I'm
1,000% in agreement with you. And I think that, like you, if I've learned something, it's not a mistake, it's not a failure. So I think we as society need to reframe how we view failure. So the one almost failure I want to share, because I think it's really in business important. Not even if you're an entrepreneur, I think it's important in life. So I just started my business, literally. I'd been maybe a month into my business and I was networking, trying to meet people. And so, you do these one-on-ones. And this woman, the first thing, kid you not, I sit down and she says to me, I hate professional organizers. So I said,
off to a great start already.
Right, exactly. So normally the old me would have run and hid and who knows what else. And so I said, okay, well, why? And so what ended up happening is we had this awesome conversation. And she said, because they're so wasteful. And I said, oh, no, here's how you can be green and bring in eco-organizing. And I walked out of that meeting. I'm like, that's what I'm going to specialize in, because that's who I am. I love to hike. I'm passionate about the environment. And people said to me, you will be dead in the water, Julie. You cannot be green and you can't be a professional organizer. I'm like, well, I can't separate who I am. And guess what? I won awards for it. I won a national award for it and I won a regional award for it. But I followed who I was. I didn't try to be something I wasn't. I honored who I was. And it ended up being a huge bonus for me.
Outstanding. Yeah, and that's encouraging for folks out there who might be failing right now and calling themselves a failure. Strangely enough, most often it's those failures that teach you the most that you can then put into practice to help you become successful, however it is that they're defining it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Those are essential. Brutal teachers, but essential.
And get the help and the support that you need. That's the big thing. Because, especially as an entrepreneur, we have many hats to wear. And so, I'm going to try to do it. And if you're starting out, even if you don't have a brick and mortar business, there are startup costs. So you're trying to watch every penny and do that. Pay for what you need support in. Pay someone to have your website, to do the accounting, whatever it is. It's worth the investment in the long run, trust me. And find the people that mesh with you, that are good quality. And as my father always said to me, I want a good job at a fair price. I don't want someone to gouge me, and it's not about pinching pennies and paying the least, but find someone that's a good fit for you and let them be the expert that you need.
That's great. I've always said that, yeah, no matter how much you charge for what it is you're really good at, there's always going to be somebody that's going to charge less, and there's always going to be somebody that charges more. So why race to the bottom?
Right, bro. I like that. Yeah.
Charge a fair price, exchange value for value, and everybody's better off for it.
Absolutely.
I like that. So when you're first starting out and you're doing your one-on-ones, walk me through that process, kind of transitioning from, you know what, this corporate environment is horrible, it's toxic, I'm around emotional children right now. How did you transfer out of that?
Well, I consider myself a very interesting mix because I'm type A, but I'm very intuitive. And so have kind of honored the intuitive side more. But before I left my job, it was pretty obvious. The true story was 2 weeks into the job, the person that had been the consultant was like, this place sucks, it's nuts. And I thought, okay, that's perhaps a red flag here. And so what I did was I planned, got a website. I joined organizations and put in many things into place. So when I finally left, now, again, I did things, I probably would have networked more, maybe. I just didn't know enough, but I, had my legal setup, got all of that done before I started my business. And so when I quit my job and my steady income, I had all that in place.
I really like that. And that seems to be a pretty common story, is that a lot of successful entrepreneurs are actually pretty risk averse. They don't like betting it all on the line and here's our big gamble. It's more, you know what? I see down the road that things could change, so I'm going to start doing things right now. Yes. And it's that thing of dig your well before you need the water kind of thing. So you put those pieces into place at a steady pace, put in time every day, and before you know it, you've built a structure that can support you when you decide to step out from the corporate world.
I think it's really important that you also have flexibility. I think if you look like a young man, you're definitely younger than I am, and I don't know if you remember Blockbuster, but Blockbuster didn't get with it, and we're streaming, and they went out of business. So
you want to send movies through the mail? That's a technology from the 1800s. This is innovative? Nope.
Right. And so they weren't open to it and they weren't preparing. So, for instance, I do physical home organization, but I've expanded that because I don't want to be doing this 10 years from now. I love it, but I'm aging and moving and schlepping around boxes. It takes a lot out of me physically. So I've created a do-it-yourself, for example. So if people want to call, we do some consulting and I come up with a customized plan. I've also created a course. And so I've expanded because it allows me not only within Raleigh, but nationally. So it's thinking outside the box and taking your skills, because my other skill besides organizing and clearing clutter is I'm a really strong writer. And so writing a book, writing a course was a natural fit for my skill set. And it helps me with that creative. I need to be creative. I need to always be doing something like that. And so that fulfills that need as well.
I like that. And plus that's, if you start your own business, a lot of people just wind up continuing to trade their time for dollars.
Yes.
They trade one job that's 40 hours a week for another job that is all consuming and makes them hate what they used to love. To me, that's not living the dream. You've got to figure a way out of the dollars for time trap. And being able to leverage your experience and expertise is a perfect way of doing that through writing, online courses. The power of the internet is amazing. And you can use the tool to free yourself up from that trap. Yeah.
Can I share something that's been really a huge change in my life and I'm in the process of doing? So I told you earlier I work with a coach and she's always talking, she has this term doobie for meaning for doing and being. And so it's July right now. It's hot. It's like 100 degrees now. I'm a slug. So last couple weeks, I was in total slug mode. We don't have cable, although we're on the middle of season 5 of Breaking Bad, and I'm dying to know how it ends. So I have been a slug. I watched The Good Wife. I'd never seen that. So I watch TV, and my husband works. Probably the past couple weeks, I've watched more TV than maybe a year's worth. I couldn't motivate myself to do something. Now, you have to understand, as an entrepreneur, there is always, always something that you can be doing
Always.
to work on your business. So
Yes.
you have that facet. You have a type A personality who has been raised, you got to be productive, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but I tell you, this is great. And this is why I'm going in this direction. So for almost 2 weeks, I maybe did one thing a day. And then I woke up on a Monday, and I swear on whatever it is you want to swear on, within 4 hours, I got more done than I did in 2 weeks because I honored what I was feeling. I needed to rest and recharge. I needed to just shut my brain off. And because I honored that, when I came back to do what I needed to do, I was crazily, insanely productive. And, I'm working on a book now, and you, I'm sure, can understand this in the creative process. I was like, I got to get it done, blah, 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 and didn't work on it for a month. And then a whole bunch of it came out. And so knowing, okay, that's cyclical. Can we follow the rhythms of life and honoring that? Now, again, you can't always go by that. If I have clients scheduled, I can't say, I'm going to watch TV instead of going to see my clients. But again, that's also another thing. I trust the process. I'm like, rah, 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 rah.
Yep.
Well, if I have clients for 40 hours a week, then I have no time writing. So trust the rhythm and the flow of your business and life.
Right. And that's the value of allowing that space for you to honor the process and the nature of how you work. I do exactly the same thing. Right. And the analogy I always like to use is working out. Like, you could work out 8 hours a day, and then you'd be so exhausted tomorrow that you're not going to do any work, right? So if you don't give yourself that time to recoup and just kind of relax, you wind up burning yourself out and have nothing, like you've just poured everything out, got to let it fill back up kind of thing. Yeah. And for me, it took me a long time to realize that I work like a shark's brain, right? It never goes all the way asleep. It just kind of sleeps part of the brain at a time. So it's kind of like, okay, for this next little while, I'm going to work on this project and just get completely obsessed and deep into that. So I'm holding all the pieces of the puzzle in my head, get that where it needs to be, and then switch off, then go somewhere else. Yep. So I've had to learn to turn off that part of the brain and then consciously relax, which sounds like a contradiction, and maybe it is, but I've had to plan and go, you know what? It's actually okay to relax and enjoy not doing business things right now. And that was incredibly freeing.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. Because I think that's so important, because I think that's a learning curve for people.
Yeah, because there's this badge of honor that, I'm working overtime and I'm sleeping at my desk because I'm so dedicated to the company. It's like, you know what? That's a sign
not
of
living.
Poor decision making.
Yeah, that's the art of being busy.
Absolutely, yeah. Because when you only have an hour a day to do something, you start getting a lot more done in that hour too.
It's true.
And so that's why I like to tell people that are thinking about, you know what? I've been thinking about quitting the corporate world and starting my own thing. Say, you know what? Start it while you're working.
Yes.
They're like, well, I'm too busy to do it. And I'm like, then you're never going to be unbusy enough to do it. So start it now, make the time for it. Then you'll figure out whether or not you like it. Right. And you'll see that it's important enough to you to put in the time.
I was just going to say that if it's a priority, you'll find time. And when I do workshops and presentations, people say, but I don't have time to clear, clutter, or organize. How much time do you spend on Facebook today? There was a stat that I shared the other day, and it was something crazy. Like every single day, almost 39,000 years are spent on Facebook collectively, something that you're just like, oh my gosh, that's nuts. And so where are your time wasters when you figure that out? Because if maybe you're afraid, and that's why, you don't have time. Well, maybe that's really a fear. So always dig deeper on that.
Do you let go of clutter, but then at no time it's back to the way it was? Do your books on releasing clutter and getting organized collect dust on a shelf? Do you know you need to dig deeper on releasing clutter but keep getting stuck? Our Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out, Releasing and Affirming MP3s support you in all areas of your life: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Learn more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The I didn't have time is a pet peeve for me that I've learned to not hash out with other people. Like I've learned to accept that as my issue, but when
Good
people
for
go,
you.
"Oh, I don't have time for that." I'm like, "No, you're not making time for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not important enough to you, so you're
Yes.
just not going to do it." And that's really what you're saying, which comes across quite abrasive and forward. So I've learned that that's not the kind of polite way of going about that. So I go, okay, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to just learn that people aren't ready to hear you. And sometimes I think, okay, I plant a seed, maybe 5 years from now they'll get it, or maybe they won't get it this lifetime, and that's okay.
Yep, and that's a lesson I learned from my mentors growing up. Like my background, I learned how to juggle fire when I was 13 years old,
Wow.
and I was hammering nails at my nose when I was 15. So I grew up around some really interesting people, and very early they kind of taught me those circus skills
Mm-hmm.
and kind of carny skills.
Yep.
And one of them was reading tarot cards.
Oh, very cool.
Now, the reason why you pay for tarot card readings is that's how much you care. If you don't pay, you don't care. But if you pay me $200 for a tarot card reading, you now care $200 worth, whatever that means to you, of what I have to say. I could give you the exact same reading. The first one, you wouldn't care. You go, yeah, it's probably all fake. But then the next one, you're like, wow, that applies to me so deeply, and that changed my life for the better. Thank you so much. Which is why I don't like telling people, oh yeah, do free stuff. It's like, nope, you're stealing time from somebody. It can be yourself, it can be from other people. Plus, your client isn't going to value what it is you're bringing to the table. So
Absolutely.
respect yourself, respect the client enough to charge what it is you're worth.
And it's funny, when I first started my business, I'd been business, excuse me, a month, and someone wanted me to drive about 90 minutes from here. And they basically wanted to pay me nothing. And I didn't have any work at the time. And I said no, because I valued myself enough to not be cheapened to that. It's like, no, I'm going to have 3 hours of driving time, and you want me to give 4 hours, and you want to pay me $100? I'm not doing it. And if it's important, you'll find the money. How much did you spend at Starbucks this week? I mean, truly, or that you spent on video games. I had one of my mentors before she took off and moved to Kauai, told me a story how she gave someone a discounted price and then saw on the Facebook, you got to love social media, the new designer purse that she had just purchased. So she didn't have enough money to pay my friend, but she was out there doing it and buying purses. So you have to value yourself, and others will. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and it always seems on the entertainer side of things, because that's kind of how I've made my living for the past 12 years or so. And it always seems that the clients who want the cheapest price or the special deal suddenly have 15 more hoops for you to jump through. So it winds up being more work for less pay and more frustration. And if you don't learn that real fast, that you can actually fire clients, which is a really weird idea. But you know what? Relationships are a two-way street, and you got to pick relationships that are beneficial for everybody involved. So don't be afraid of firing clients.
I'm in 1,000% agreement. And that's one of the great things about owning your own business, because why are you going to give someone who gives you grief? It's not worth it. And the first time you have to do it, it's not easy, but like anything, the more you practice it, the easier you become. And I have to laugh because I have belonged to a listserv, and there's a woman who's always asking for a referral for something, and she always wants the cheapest price. And then I kind of chuckle when she turns around and is trying to sell her stuff. And I'm thinking, you're always putting it out there. You want the cheapest person. What do you think you're getting back? Of course, I've learned that I just don't say anything, but I just find it interesting to observe that.
Right. And also another angle to that is that you don't put forth your best effort. You're going, you know what? I'm getting less than what I'm worth, so I'm going to give them less than what I'm worth. And that's not a good way to go about things. But really, it boils down to a question of integrity. Mm-hmm. And that person is asking you to compromise your integrity just because. And if you don't allow them to do that, they'll feel that integrity. And then you'll find people that want to deal with you out of a place of respect for your craft and what it is what you do.
Yeah, I once sold my course. A friend asked for a discount, and I gave it to them, but I was angry afterward. Wasn't her problem. It was my problem from doing it. And my intuition is going, no, no, no. It's like earlier when I refused the client when I first was starting my business. And I was really angry at myself after that and never did it again.
Yep. And in my context and experience from that is, as an entertainer, like I get people that I grew up with and my family going, are you still doing those little magic tricks? So like, I've entertained the troops stationed overseas. I've been internationally, just been on TV. Yeah, I'm still doing those little magic tricks. So it's kind of one of those things where, what is it? A prophet is never accepted in their own land.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're in the transformation game, right? Where you're helping people deal with their issues and really going, I've been through this. But your friends sometimes have a different perception of it. And you just go, oh, yeah, that's your hobby. That's just something you like to do. And you go, okay, you are $0 worth invested in this. So you're not my client.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Thank you for your interest, but no.
Yeah. But you know what? The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And when you do that, you respect yourself, and everything's energy. Mm-hmm. So even the example, you grew up in North Carolina, so yep. Bless her heart. Yeah. I always thought that was, a nice thing. And actually, I've said it in a video today, and I mean it in a nice way. But people are like, no. When they say bless their heart, there's usually you're a dumb blankety blank behind it. So there's always, they feel that intent. They feel whatever. So if if you don't honor yourself, you're putting that energy out there, and you get that back. Whatever you put out there, you get back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, there are no shortcuts. Mm-hmm. There's no push button success. It's you put it in day after day, and that's exactly what you get back. It's cause and effect. It is really that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the analogy I like to reason by metaphor. I work very well with metaphors, and for me, the metaphor I always think of is sculpture, carving. Right? You don't put the chisel against the granite and hit it once and go, okay. That's the statue of David right there. You go, okay, unless you're doing a concept piece, but it sure doesn't look like it. Right? It takes effort, and every action matters until you get to the final product. Which, there isn't one.
Or I think when I work with coaching clients, some people are like, your rate's what, an hour? And I'm like, well, first we have the assessment that I have to go through, and I have to plan each hour that we spend, and then afterwards there's creating your homework and creating your next thing, and you're getting a bargain as far as I'm concerned. I mean, truly, when people don't think, but again, that's a mindset. There are certain people that have that mindset, and it's not my job to change that mindset. If you're ready and you want to work with me, great. If not, there's someone out there to support you.
Right. It's that scarcity versus abundance mindset, which for me is like, you can be the magician that magically creates your life and your own experiences, or you can live like the audience, working off of what other people create. So it's like, are you the magician or are you the audience?
Oh, I like that. Very good. I like that analogy.
Thanks. I came up with it myself.
Good job.
Thanks. So yeah, what are some big challenges you're working on right now?
Some big challenges. Well, I would say the big thing that I'm working on is I've got 3 books in progress. And so my goal is I've got outlined and, but again, there's always rewrite. Mm-hmm. But we'll have that out by the end of the year. So that's the big thing. The other big thing in which I'm needing support, and I want everything done like that. I had what I call website 1.0, and we're now on website 2.0, and I'm in the process of hiring someone. Need to get my website in better shape and make an easier shopping experience. So those are the challenges, and finding the right person to do that, and a little bit of work on SEO. I know I have a good handle on SEO, but I need someone who's an expert at it. So
Right.
those are the big challenges I'm working on now that hopefully will be resolved sooner rather than later.
Gotcha. And what are some of the big points to celebrate? Like successes? How would you define that? Would you call yourself successful? I'm just going to keep throwing them at you.
Okay. I would call myself, well, I would say from a kind of standard American success measurement, I won a national award in 2011 for being green. I was voted most eco-friendly organizer by the National Association of Professional Organizers. I won that. And then that same year, I won a regional award for the Triangle where I live on innovative green business. So that was a really big deal, because trust me, when I went to that award ceremony, I'm like, there is no one like me here. So I was really proud of that.
That's
so those
great.
are what I'd call, kind of what we call success. But I would say that I'm happy, and I have a successful marriage, and I am an amazing mommy to the black cats. And so those to me are what's important. I have friends, I have family, I enjoy my life. I'm not working 24/7. So in that regard, I feel successful. And I want to keep learning and moving and doing and being until I die. And so I hope that I'm always in that process. And I don't think we ever really reach the end. And so when I take my last breath, I hope that I'm able to look back on my life and say, you know what, you did a pretty good job. And again, personal development is so important to me. And that's something that I'm constantly working on, whether it's a daily mindful practice, or getting my butt kicked by my coach. I'm always growing and learning and trying to be a better woman.
I love that answer. I love that. Now, having a coach, I understand that some people might think that that's kind of strange, but to me, it makes perfect sense. But walk me through your choice to have a coach.
Oh, gosh. It's so interesting. The first coach I had, mentor, is the one now who's in Kauai, and she's blown up. She's internationally known, and she's worked really hard and deserved it. But when I worked with her when she was first starting out, it would be like 7 hours. And it was about breaking down your mental body, your mind. So it's all very spiritual stuff. But again, you can't separate who you are from your business. And the better person I am, the more aware I become, the more I'm able to bring that to my clients. So I worked with Lisa. Gosh, how long did I work for Lisa? Maybe about 18 months or 2 years. And I needed a break after that. I'm like, put her on the plane to Kauai and took about 6 months off. But the universe and God were like, well, you know what? You got some more work to do. So I was given a 6-month break. And then there's a certain thing I'm trying to achieve. And through people I knew, found my coach. And it's interesting. I've been working with her for about 2.5 years. And I also take a monthly women's class with her. And so it's about coaching and energy and all that good stuff. And I have to tell you, I joke that she kicks my butt, but I always feel 1,000% better every time after I leave. And she's always giving me homework, and she's just amazing. Because the other thing that I strive to do in my life is, you and I are going to be wherever we are on our journey, wherever we are on that spiral, wherever we are in awareness and consciousness, we are where we are. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. And that's one of the things that with Lisa and Elizabeth, because I think a lot of times when people are coaching or spiritual, that I'm above you and you need to learn from me. And we all have the answers inside.
I've transcended your simple problems and issues. Meet me on my plane of existence.
Right. And you're like, ooh, I'm not attracted to that. And, I used to, this is embarrassing, but I will admit, I used to see psychics a lot because I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my wisdom. And there was always that we know. And I remember sometimes being like, I know that's wrong. I don't care what you're seeing, but doesn't fit for me. And so learning how to rely on my intuition and trusting that I know what's best for me, and working with people who are, and those two more so than anyone in my life have corrected me. No, I'm here, there is no whatever. We're all in this, and it's about expanding your awareness. And I think that is so important. I don't see my clients less than me. They are being challenged in an area that I'm able to support them. And they have skills that I'm not able to do, and they might be able to support me in some way. So we're all where we are, and it's all good.
I agree 100%. Now, what would you say would be a couple resources that people should check out if this resonates with them and they're going, you know what, I have met a lot of resistance when I think about kind of clearing up my life and dealing with things that have just been nagging me for years. What are a couple of resources you would suggest for those folks?
I would say journal, because a lot of time that's if you wake up and first journal and coming back from that dream state or coming out of that dream state, I think journaling is a great resource. And again, the more you're able to not get in your mental body and think and whatever flows, I think is really good. I like the Evernote app because, for instance, I have a master list for my business. And so whenever I have an idea, maybe it's for a product, maybe it's for a class, I have this master list that I create. So I'm always able to write it down. And what I like about Evernote is it syncs with your tablet, your phone, your computer. It's free. I mean, you can do a paid version, but as far as I'm concerned, you get a good bang for your free buck. And so doing that, I think, is really important. And having a mindfulness practice, I like mowing the lawn. That's very peaceful for me. So whether it's meditating, mowing the lawn, having mindfulness as you wash the dishes, do some type of daily practice, getting out in nature that connects you with yourself. It allows you to quiet everything and to respect and hear that inner voice.
Amen to that too. Yeah, and to me, it has to be a physical practice. Mm-hmm. And even seated zazen meditation is an intensely physical practice. If you've ever tried it for longer than 30 seconds, you will see just how physical it is. But just like we can't separate our work from who we are, we can't separate our physiology from who we are. So working on that physical will work on the mental, emotional,
absolutely,
all the
It's
access.
it's all connected. Whatever's going on the inside is going to be reflected in your outside environment and vice versa. So that's why I say if you clear some spiritual and emotional clutter or mental clutter and energetic clutter, going to be reflected in your physical environment and vice versa.
I love it. I always like to think that we are an interference pattern of a whole bunch of different dynamics of the physical, of the mental, the emotional, and then how those intersect is our experience of being alive.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, if somebody is listening to this and goes, you know what, she's amazing, I have to give her a call, I have to email her, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
If you go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com, you will be able to get a hold of me. You can find my phone number, my smoke signal, my email. You can contact me there. All my social media channels are there if you want to connect. I have a Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out podcast that I do. You'll be able to find me. I have a YouTube channel. I am there. You can reach me, I promise.
I love it. I always like to tell people I'm obnoxiously Googleable.
Oh, I like that. Obnoxiously Googleable. Yeah. Googleable.
Yeah, it's a fun word to say. It's not easy the first time.
It is. I like that. Takeaways from today's podcast. Do not associate clutter with being a safe space. When you have chaos going on, it is draining you and taking more energy than you may realize. It isn't a safe place. Clearing clutter and getting organized is not about being perfect and rigid. It is about creating joy and being happy. If you have real concerns, such as being so disorganized that you aren't paying your bills, you should address those as soon as you're able. Do be. Practice the art of doing and being. Honor what you're feeling. If that means rest and recharge, rest and recharge. Be productive when you're in that flow. Honor, trust, and follow the rhythms of life. Go out, clear the clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire.
I hope you guys out there in podcast land definitely look her up and let her know that I sent you over there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all you're doing, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about what I do and allowing people to share their passions, because we all can raise each other. They get something from you, maybe decide to start that business. And when I want to live in a world where people are sharing their gifts, they're excited, because we're not in that world right now. And I would like to see us get there, at least in my lifetime.
Immediately after our conversation, I cleaned off my desk, which it desperately needed. I instantly felt better, and hopefully, this episode inspires you to get some of that clutter out of your life. Make some space for success, why don't you? All right, that's it for the show this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you got something out of it, you'd probably like the ebook I put together called The 10 Elements of an Effective Mind. An amazing life starts with the right mindset, and it's not an easy thing to figure out, so I decided to share 10 things that have worked throughout history for getting a head start on the process. To get it, head over to alifewelldesigned.com, scroll down, and you should see a place where you can put in your name and email, and I'll have one of my robot helpers send it over to you. If you're listening to this in the future and you don't see the sign-up area, the deal has probably changed, but I'm sure I'm still offering something useful, so get whatever free goodie I want to send to you. It's kid-tested, mom-approved. And if you're worried about me spamming you, don't be. You can always opt out, but I'll be sending you thoughts, lessons, tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff that might not ever make it to the blog, so you'll be getting a head start on the casual visitors. And if you're looking to start living out loud, this is a good place to start. And if you want to give something back to the show, I would encourage you to leave an honest review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. Let people know what they can expect when they listen, and give us some social proof. Plus, it's nice on my end to know people get something out of it, which helps keep me motivated to continue the show. And we have some great episodes on the horizon for you. How to avoid burnout, how to use small changes to get big results, how to find your soul language, how to use virtual assistants to free up your time, which I'm actually about to do myself, so I got a lot out of that one personally. And I think you will too, even if you're not a CEO. Everyone can use a good assistant, and it's easier than ever. So yeah, good stuff coming your way. Subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll talk with you again next week. I'm your host, Jonathan Pritchard, signing off for a Life Well Designed podcast. Now, go hug someone you love.
For more awesome stuff like what you just heard, head over to alifewelldesigned.com. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to the email list for updates on new episodes, live workshops, articles, personal coaching opportunities, and more. We promise not to spam you. We only want to deliver useful stuff to your inbox. Also, let's get social on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. You'll get a behind-the-scenes peek at all the shenanigans that happen at the office and on the road. Just search for A Life Well Designed. This has been a Life Well Designed podcast. Thanks for listening.
Ready to clear clutter and share your gifts with the world? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, so what step will you take today? Sign up for our newsletter and receive a free copy of our 10 Steps to Clearing Clutter. Julie Coraccio provides coaching, professional organizing and speaking, organizing classes, positive affirmations, and her unique How to Declutter Your Life course. Learn more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. Subscribe to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out and join us next Tuesday at 1 p.m.